Hello, and welcome to Under 1000. My name's Thomas Flower, and each episode I'll read you a new piece of flash fiction. All of the stories are 1000 words or less. Today, I'll be reading The Job of the Artist. Please be aware that this episode contains strong language, so if that's likely to upset you or anyone that you're listening with, then you might want to skip this one. It is the job of the artist to create beautiful things. He looked up at it again and sighed. Even as he worked, he could feel it, hovering over him like an axe promising to drop if he didn't live up to the expectations that had been set. Picking up another figurine, he mixed together the colours he would need. He tried not to think about the sign, tried not to contemplate its message. It was good work after all. He couldn't complain, or at least, he shouldn't complain. He got to create for a living, turning clay into tiny statues, and turning those into the wonderfully intricate little pieces that the higher-ups could then sell on as authentic, local, handicrafted art. It wasn't bad money, and he was putting his artistic knowledge to good use, unlike so many of the other people he had trained with. But still, there was something about it that bugged him. Something which made his hackles rise every time he looked up and saw that sign again. It is the job of the artist to create beautiful things. Sure, he thought, there was a value to beauty. But was that really all that art was about? Making something which pleased audiences, which they could coo over and open their wallets for. Surely there had to be more to it than that. The tiny trinkets he created sold well after all, but he didn't see much artistic merit in them, despite what the marketing men would try to convince him. They were pieces made to part audiences with their cash. Nobody was really putting any heart and soul into them. Not the bosses who commissioned them, not the marketers who sold them, and not even him, after all this time spent making so many iterations on a theme. He wasn't creating beautiful things. He was creating sellable goods, and he was creating them so that others could profit. It is the job of the artist to create beautiful things. As he painted, he thought on it more, and the more he thought, the angrier he became. Create beautiful things. Fuck you, he lashed out in his head, attacking imaginary foes with a viper tongue. After all, what does beauty create? Other than contentment with the status quo, where people keep great works on their walls and in their warehouses to hoard as an investment. And what did the pieces he created do? Part poor suckers from their cash under the guise of purchasing their way into something authentic and one of a kind. In all cases, beauty didn't seem to be of much help to anyone. All it did was make art commercially viable, ensuring that someone, somewhere, would buy it. Was that really all that art was about? All that it could be? It is the job of the artist to create beautiful things. And what of those who found beauty where others saw ugliness? What of the people who thought of things a different way, who did not consider beautiful what the rest of the world did, but instead treasured the very things that the world discarded? After all, this culture they were all swimming in together was guided by forces determined not to see beauty in a whole host of people for things they could not control. What then was beauty, and who was it for? Why should it be the job of the artist to reify society's winners and prejudices? It is the job of the artist to create beautiful things. No! He was screaming in his own head now, even as his hands calmly painted out rosy red cheeks onto the little figure that he held. It was not the job of the artist to do anything with the sword. The job of the artist was also to challenge, to subvert, to speak the truth, and make fun of the powerful. Beauty may be part of it, but it was not all of it. There was so much more to what he wanted than could be summed up in this cajoling. Shaking, he tried to calm himself down so that he might continue his work. He needed this job after all. He needed to make money, and the pieces he wished he could make would certainly not sell as well as these tacky handicrafts would. And as he considered further, he realised that he shouldn't judge too harshly. After all, if someone out there wanted these silly little trinkets, who was he to deny them? It was not their fault that his bosses only funneled money into things they were sure would sell, never allowing him to try something new, never allowing him to take a risk on something which might make a statement. They were all just playing the game that the world had set up, and though he hated it fiercely, it was hardly as though he could change it single-handedly. Might as well get on with painting. Getting angry only slowed him down, to the benefit of no one at all. It is the job of the artist to create beautiful things. But it still haunted him. The sign sat above him, and he felt as though it were mocking him, laughing at him, placed there as though to remind him that pedestrian beauty was all he would ever be able to peddle. Reaching out, he grabbed a pen, and in a flurry, stood up and scribbled his own words on top of the corpora's sloganeering. It is the job of this artist to sell beautiful things. It wasn't much, but it pleased him, and it was the truth. And sometimes, he thought, truth is more important than beauty. Thank you for listening to Under 1000. I'm your host, Thomas Flower. To follow the show online, look for Under 1000 Pod on Twitter or Facebook, or check out the website at under1000pod.com. If you'd like to support the show on Patreon, go to patreon.com/under1000pod, where you can sign up to read each month's stories in advance, as well as to have a thank you be read during these credits. The theme music is an instrumental version of In Between Days by Nick Tate and the Sharks. To hear the full song and more from the same EP, go to Nick Tate, Nictate, and thesharks.bandcamp.com, or search for them on your favourite streaming platform. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and that you'll join me again next time for some more super short fiction.